Tian Wei, welcome to the AIIB. So this is our boardroom. Yeah, of course.
Right? Every day for you, riding to work. Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. As the pandemic sweeps the world, who can offer critical support to economies? The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, or AIIB, believes it has a role to play. Today, we bring you this special Braving the Storm, Lean, Clean and Green AIIB. The lender is a young multilateral development bank. Originally, its mission is to improve social and economic conditions in the Asia-Pacific region. Going strong into its 5th anniversary with 102 members, now it has a total of 87 approved projects and 43 others in the pipeline, covering 24 economies, such as Vietnam, Turkey, Georgia, India, Pakistan, and many more. Half of its projects are in energy and finance. Ahead of its 5th annual meeting, I was invited by Danny Alexander, the Vice President and Corporate Secretary of the bank, whom I have been in touch with quite often over the past years. He offers to tour me around their new office. The talk starts already on the bike there.
So good of you to join me on my cycle to work this morning.
I love it. Just a beautiful day, and every day for you riding to work?
It's a great city for bicycling, Beijing.
Yeah, exactly.
The roads are very flat, not many hills, plenty of bicycle lanes for safe cycling. So
yes.
I like cycling here. Most days, not every day, most days from my home to the office.
How's your life in Beijing?
It's very different to the UK. There are lots of things that I miss about the UK, but we also enjoy very much living in Beijing. There are many things to do here. We've made a lot of friends. So, yeah, our life in Beijing is pretty good.
And you're already a Beijinger with a bike?
I guess that must be right. Is that the test? If I have a bike, then I'm a Beijinger?
Yes, almost. You have already passed the threshold.
Here we are. Welcome to AIIB.
The new AIIB's headquarters was in operation only in June this year. The building is designed in line with the bank's philosophy of lean, clean and green. One can tell even by standing in its spacious lobby, the annual meeting coming up at the end of July is on everybody's mind.
Tian Wei, welcome to the AIIB new headquarters building.
Thank you. This is my first time here.
It's a magnificent place. We have more than 350 staff who are based here. We've been here now for just over 1 month. And this will be our home for many decades to come.
Yeah, nice building.
It's a beautiful building. It's very high environmental standards that have been applied to the construction. Just Taishan Shi.
Wow, Chinese, very speaking.
How feng shui.
Very great Mandarin you're speaking already. Good feng shui.
But this is, I think, marks good fortune. The stone and the water, the Taishan Mountain stone, where it may be.
I'm so much looking forward to this trip.
Well, I'm glad that you've come.
Thank you, Danny.
So come into my office.
Okay, Danny's office. Quite nice.
My office, it looks to the west. It has a very good view. So these are from different annual meetings, from Korea, from Beijing, from Luxembourg, from India. Let me show you a secret.
Oh, did you? What is it?
This one here, Huanghua.
Huanghua. The cucumber.
That's right. No cucumbers yet, but it's growing. Because of the COVID-19, well, I'm staying with my family here in Beijing all summer. We're not traveling back to Europe as we normally would. So my kids and I decided we'd try and plant some vegetables. So
this is part of it.
Yeah. So this is our boardroom.
Oh, okay.
This is where our board of directors will meet when they can travel to Beijing.
Okay.
But it's next week we'll hold the 2020 AIIB annual meeting.
That's a big thing for you, of course.
It's the biggest event of the year when all of our ministers come together. We'll also be holding the election of the president next week. So all coordinated from this room. Come and have a look. I can show you some of the history. This was back in January 2016 when the Board of Directors met just the day after the AIIB was founded. We take the annual meeting to different countries. We've been to Korea, we've been to India, we've been to Luxembourg. This was from Mumbai in 2018, where the annual meeting took place.
And this year you're going to be here in Beijing.
This year, we would have loved to have the physical meeting in Beijing. Because of the COVID-19, we host the meeting virtually. But we'll also have a program of webinars, seminars that people can join online, so they can learn more about the AIIB.
So where are you going to sit then?
So this is my seat.
As a secretary?
Here. The chairman of the Board of Governors, who's this year Mr. Liu Kun, the finance minister of China, will sit here. President Jin will sit here.
We'll be sitting over there. So you will be looking at the big screen.
We'll be looking at the big screen, and next week we will have all of our members joining from every part of the world for those discussions.
Fascinating. Sir Danny, originally from the UK, now considers Beijing home. He showed me in and around the headquarters. To bring home the idea of green, he suggests meeting again in the AIIB's in-house garden.
So this is one of the sky gardens in the bank. It's an open-air space that we can use for events, or people can have lunch, or just have a meeting here.
Beautiful place when the sun comes in.
It's a beautiful garden. It's part of the, if you like, bringing the outside inside within the bank. It's part of, these gardens, obviously, but also a lot of renewable energy. This building has been very highly rated from an environmental standpoint. So. Part of being a green institution, we want to have a headquarters that also helps to meet that objective.
Yes. Quite exotic place.
It's an exotic place. I don't quite know who found the plants, but they're quite nice, aren't they?
They are absolutely.
Actually, this one over here is flowering. You see on the top, the little...
I see.
I think those must be flowers. Or they were flowers, maybe.
I'm sure you will be experts of this after several crews come in.
Should we sit down here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Come on, you sit here.
Okay.
So, welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'm delighted to welcome you to our new HQ.
Thank you. I saw a series of investment projects you're already having in terms of COVID-19, how to help your member countries. How would you prioritize?
So we decided we were going to set aside $5 to $10 billion for a crisis response facility. And of course, we can increase the size later if the need is greater. So the most important priority is to find out what the member countries need and to respond as quickly and as flexibly as we can. Specifically, we've been doing health, of course, emergency health loans to some of our members. Then for some other members, they have challenges with their budget because the economic effects of the pandemic reduced their tax revenues almost overnight. And so we've been making loans to support the budget of those countries, which we never do in a normal time, but in a crisis we must. And then also we can provide support in the private sector, for example, liquidity support to banks that support infrastructure in their own countries.
So many on the plate, I would assume. Countries, economies, enterprises asking for help.
We have an enormous amount of demand, and the needs in different countries are enormous.
You're only 5 years old.
We're only 5 years old. We have 350 people working here for the AIIB, but it's our duty as part of the coordinated international response to the crisis that we step up and play our part. And so that's what we want to do, it's what we have to do, and I think we've done it so far, responded flexibly and well to many of our members' needs.
But this could also be a time when AIIB could shine, in fact.
Even though we're small and relatively new, to be able to provide the finance that our members need, to be able to do it quickly, to be able to respond flexibly, because each member, their needs are different, their circumstances are different.
Give me an example.
Okay, so for example, we recently provided a loan to Georgia, which was part of the crisis response there.
Yeah.
In that case, they needed support for their budget, but also they needed support because they want to provide money to their own people to help them deal with this crisis. In India, we've made loans related to the health system because they needed to strengthen their health system to help with their pandemic response. But we've also provided a budget loan in that country too. So in each case, depending on the needs, we want to make our finances flexible as possible. Actually, in the case of the pandemic, China was the first country to receive a health loan from AIIB because for Beijing and for Chongqing, they wanted to strengthen the disease response, the crisis response facilities that they have. So China, in this case, has been a beneficiary of AIIB support. But that's not because we're headquartered here in China. That's because their needs fitted within the policy and the criteria that AIIB members, all working together through our board of directors.
Through the fight against COVID-19 and the emergency funding you've been trying to provide, what have you learned as a young development institution?
Well, we talk about wanting to be lean, clean and green. Those are our kind of core values, our core ideas. Actually, lean also means being very agile, being very flexible, being able to respond especially to what your clients need. And if you like, the crisis has shown the importance of being able to do that well, to be flexible, to be agile, to be responsive, because the needs that countries all over the world are facing are very pressing. They're very immediate. They can't wait for many months to go through a process. You have to be able to provide the support when they need it.
So you're saying that we have a reset moment?
In a way, yes, that's true.
But whether we're going to grasp it or not, it's another question, isn't it?
Well, I think one of the challenges in this period has been how to get countries around the world to work together, because there are so many challenges right now in terms of geopolitics and so forth. But I think, in a sense, that puts a greater burden on international institutions. Maybe bilateral engagement is not so easy between many different parts of the world, but multilateral institutions are forums through which different perspectives, different regions can work closely together. And I think, therefore, we have a great onus to be part of thinking about what kind of recovery do we want and how can we support our members to recover their economies once the crisis has passed. And I think, again, that's a big responsibility for AIIB, not by ourselves, but as part of the broader international system to help the next phase of the recovery also.
Have you tested the temperature so far?
Well, we have discussions about this with our board on a pretty regular basis.
Tell me more about it, the latest ones.
Well, so our board has been very supportive of the crisis recovery. All the members, whatever the impact of COVID on them, their own situation, supports the idea that AIIB should allocate more money, should respond very quickly, should focus in areas that we wouldn't otherwise be working on in a crisis. And they're all also working with us to develop our future strategy. We're working on a strategy for the next decade. How do we want to grow this bank? We're still some way short of the size AIIB will get to when we're fully mature. And so there the focus is on sustainable infrastructure. It's on connectivity. It's on private capital mobilization. It's also on digital technology, which is such a crucial part of the infrastructure of the 21st century. So AIIB will need to build up its capacities in all of these areas over the next few years.
But as you said, Sir Danny, that international institutions these days, as a result of geopolitics, might be facing another layer of challenges. Whether people still believe in multilateralism, whether still people believe in multilateral platforms like AIIB. And you have 102 members. That's a lot. And therefore, how could they come to consensus? Yes, you have a board, but still, I would assume things are going to get more difficult before it gets easier.
Well, actually, I'd say it's almost the opposite.
Really? Tell me more about that.
In a multilateral institution, where you already have rules, you have governance, you have objectives that everyone's agreed on, then it's possible to say, leave the politics outside. Within the agreements that we have about the sorts of things we want to do, let's focus on what is economically best for investment, for development, for sustainable development in Asia and beyond. how can AIIB play a role in supporting economic development? So, in a sense, that's why multilateralism is so important. It's why we have to defend multilateral institutions. And institutions like ourselves have to really demonstrate to people around the world why we're a good thing, the benefits that we can bring.
AIIB's members does not include the United States. Secondly, you've already seen, in terms of geopolitics, some members of yours have very different opinions on quite a number of things. So how would you be able to say, human beings, we still, but let's put our differences aside and focus just on the issue of infrastructure?
The answer is yes, they can. They can do it, and they do it. You're right, we don't have the US or Japan as our member, though the door is open if they ever would like to join.
It is still open?
Of course, if they ever would like to join in future. Yes, absolutely. As an international institution, qualifying countries are able to apply to join the bank. But more importantly, within an institution like the AIIB, everyone's agreed at the outset, we're going to work together through this institution to achieve these objectives. The objective is to enhance sustainable development in Asia through investment in infrastructure. And so your different members will have different ideas about how they want to do that or what they think is important or less important. But once they step through the door, once they're part of those meetings, then that's what they're focused on. And so they can leave the politics of individual issues, of bilateral disputes behind them and focus on what do we want this institution to be doing to serve our common interest.
The other thing is about common sense. I don't know about you, but over the years, you see common sense, to a certain extent, is being challenged by political rhetorics, unfortunately. But international institutions, you need to make decisions based on common sense and consensus. So how do you and your colleague trying to respect common sense and bring people's common sense together?
Look, it's about the quality of the work. It's about the quality of the projects we do. It's about the analysis, let's say the environmental and social assessments, the way we look at the finances of projects, the debt sustainability issues in member countries. These are all areas where if you work hard enough and you examine them very carefully, you can come to very good decisions. And common sense requires good evidence. And so, a lot of what our teams are doing here when they're working on projects is assembling the evidence to check this really is a good project. It's not a white elephant. It's not something that isn't going to work. It really is a good project. And then show to our members and to the wider world, look, AIIB is focused on high-quality projects that meet certain safeguards, that meet certain criteria. If your project is like that, we can finance it. But if it doesn't meet those tests, we're not going to.
As we go, how would you make sure the money that you put in are at the right place? How would you make sure they're going to be implemented exactly as planned? How do you make sure it's really going to benefit the people you intend to reach? These are mind-boggling questions, I would assume.
These are really big questions because we have a duty to our shareholders and to their taxpayers who contributed the money to make sure every penny is well spent, that the projects are delivering the impact that we would like them to make. So once we've approved the financing, once we've handed the money over to the recipient, actually that's when a lot of the work really starts, which is monitoring the projects, making sure there's no corruption, putting in place the complaints mechanisms for local people if they see any problems, monitoring the way the project is being implemented, making sure the environmental regulations are being followed in a proper way. So our own staff and the consultants and other organizations who we work with, a lot of their job is really to monitor that in detail. And then we have to be very accountable. We have to be able to be held accountable by our members for what we're doing. So we provide a lot of information very transparently to our board so they can also hold us accountable. And actually that culture of accountability is a really strong principle of the organization of our bank. It's something our president, Jin Lichun, personally believes in very passionately. He's been promoted that from day one of his office, that we must be accountable for what we do. And I think it's a good basis to run an institution like this.
Remember at the very beginning when I was having the very first interview with you, Sir Danny, There were a lot of questions about credibility of AIIB, why AIIB even existed. There were questions about who these people are, you know, behind the AIIB, where do they get the money from, and how are they going to spend it. 5 years already, we see fewer questions.
I mean, I think one of the successes of AIIB's first 5 years has been to establish ourselves very clearly as a credible multilateral development bank that is part of the family of MDBs alongside the World Bank or the ADB.
So you're not in competition against them?
No, we're not in competition. These are our partners. That we cooperate closely with them. We are living up to the same standards. We are following the same basic principles of international governance. You know, that's who we are. That's what this institution is about. And I think that, you know, our members, whether it's here in China, which proposed setting up the AIIB, or the other 101 members who've decided to be part of this bank, should be very proud of creating an institution that lives up to those principles. But I think we also have to be humble that we've got a long way to go to continue to build up this institution. The foundations are very solid, the basis is very firm, but we have to keep growing so we can really support our members even more in future.
You know, I'm grateful, Danny, that you show me around today into this new building of AIIB. Fascinating. But I'm also feeling quite, in a way, in retrospect, looking at you. I mean, you used to serve in the British government, and you make a big leap into the development banking area, coming and work for AIIB. So tell me about your personal life changes and your career changes throughout this process. How does that work with AIIB?
I mean, I love working here, and I'm very proud of what this bank has become. And it's interesting. George Osborne and I were very much involved in the decision for the UK to join the AIIB.
Yes.
And as you remember, back then there was some skepticism. People saying, you know, what kind of institution will this be? Is it going to be high standards?
Yes.
And so forth. I think now, all of the hopes that we had in the UK of the way that AIIB have turned out should turn out. To be high standards, to be good governance, to be making a really positive impact. All of those hopes we have fulfilled. I'm very, very proud of the small role I've played in that process. But equally, there's an awful lot that we have to do. So, you know, I'm enjoying being here. I'll be here for a while longer, that's for sure.
I know that you're also enjoying your life in Beijing.
I've had a chance to travel around China. We enjoy many of the facilities here in this city. I cycle back and forth to work every day.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a good place to live. Tian Wei, welcome to the AIIB. So this is our boardroom. Yeah, of course.
Right? Every day for you, driving to work? With the motto of lean, clean, and green, AIIB has been investing in sustainable infrastructure and other ventures in Asia and beyond. Danny strongly advised me to find out more about one of their projects regarding green bonds. He told me Stephen Shin is the one to see. Stephen was generous with his time, though he has been working on numerous projects amid the pandemic.
So if you look at the map, the dark areas are the areas that are of AIIB's members, and those areas that this particular project will invest into.
Okay. 102 strong, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. I know that you are specifically working on something related to climate. Can you show me how that works?
Sure. The project that we have related to climate that I'm leading is called Asia Climate Bond Portfolio. So that portfolio, the objective is to help promote climate finance in the capital markets. AIIB is going to invest $500 million into AIIB members across the world, and there will be about 40 to 50 bonds that portfolio will be purchasing. And those bonds will have characteristics of having what we call climate champions. So these climate champions are companies that do well on Paris Agreement's 3 suggested areas of mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. So if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see that there is a climate change mitigation, transition contribution, and climate change adaptation on the X, Y, and Z axes. As you could imagine, if you start scoring a company on those three scores, you'll have companies that come out on top, which means they're doing well on all three factors, which we call the A list. So these are the climate champion A list. That's the green box, that's right. And we want to recognize those companies by purchasing the bonds of those companies. And we feel that if we can do that and publicize it, then hopefully the B list companies, who are the companies that are making progress, but not quite at the A list, they would want to become part of the A list. So we're hoping to, through recognition and positive reinforcement, reward those companies that are doing what the Paris Agreement suggests that they do.
So what kind of time frame are you looking at? When the B list will eventually become the A list, hopefully?
We hope very soon, but these things take time. And one thing that capital markets that needs for climate change and climate finance is really transparency on who is actually doing it right. So because the Paris Agreement really started in 2015, there hasn't been enough time for people to digest the corporations to really apply it throughout their kind of overall corporate structure. So we feel that once there is a list that comes out, more and more corporates will want to follow in their footsteps. So we feel that it will take some time, but it will eventually get there.
What about some of the projects right now? I mean, things are very difficult these days. We can't travel much, right? Particularly international travel. But your projects are everywhere among the 102 countries you have as members. So how would the project be designed? How do you work with your colleagues in different parts of the world? And how would you be able to monitor projects, see the implementation? These are fascinating questions to me.
That's right. So my workday has changed quite dramatically. So I would have lots of video conferences. I would be on chat, I would chat with my colleagues all day long. And we try to have a social chat group where we send stickers and we send funny faces. And then we also have more serious professional work kind of related kind of chat. So we stay connected with colleagues all around the world because there's still, some of them still cannot come back to China. Or on the way to China. With our clients and counterparties, it's definitely a challenge. We should and we have to at some point go and physically look at the asset. We have to physically go and and touch the ground and do all these things. We have supplemented that really by two major cooperations. One cooperation is with our sister multilateral development banks, such as the World Bank and AIIB. And if you look at the recent COVID-19 facility that we have made great progress on, I believe the number is something like $7 billion in the last couple of months approved. You'll see that vast majority of them are actually co-financed with the AIIB or with the World Bank. So that's one assurance. So we're contributing as a group to fighting this pandemic. The other way is that we have been already developing, but now we are more accelerating our partnership with banks that are on the ground who have established networks. So one example is for Turkey. Our director for Turkey asked us if we can do something about that country, and the first kind of discussion we had was, well, how can we help? We have all these constraints that you had said, and they said, well, why don't you work with our development banks that we work very closely with? So the Ministry of Finance in Turkey suggested that we work with a couple of the development banks, and out of that list, TSKB and TKYB were already two development banks in Turkey that we already had done a project with. And they demonstrated to us that there is a need in their own client base, which are the SME sector in Turkey. And if you look at SME sector in Turkey, there are about 70% of all population, all working population works in the SME sector.
I see.
So we felt that that is probably one sector that we really want to participate and contribute to. So TKSB and TKYB as two local banks were kind of the bridge and our partner and our friends, and we relied on their system. so that we can funnel our capital toward those who needed it.
This is your baby, right?
It's our team's baby.
Yes, your team's baby. But how would you make sure it's going to grow healthily?
I think given that we're only now 5 years in operations and we have about 300 full-time staff of the bank, we're very lean. In some ways, we're so lean that without partnering with the right partners who already have existing networks or existing areas of expertise, it's very difficult for us to go at it alone. And I think that's the model that we are aiming for. So if you look at this particular project, we are partnering with Amundi. So Amundi Asset Management is going to be managing our funds in this portfolio. Climate Bond Initiative is the largest and the most well-known NGO that services the climate finance area. So by working with already existing leaders in the market, we feel that we're providing the spark, we're providing the capital, but we're using existing networks of excellence to reach out because we cannot do everything by ourselves, and I think we recognize that.
Tell me more about how you managed to come into AIIB. I know you were an investment banker earlier, and you also work in the academia world. Why development bank now so much of interest to you?
I've always had a heart to help people, but I didn't know how I can help until I started working and had experiences and built up certain skill sets in the financial world. But once I started to realize that I can make a contribution, I did want to make a contribution that impacted a greater sphere of influence. So I looked into the world of developmental finance. I looked into the world of development institutions. And luck just happens to be that AIIB was created at the time, and I was living and working in Asia at the time. So I applied, and here I am.
Where are you originally from?
I was born in Korea, but I grew up in the United States.
I see. So a lot of cultures, really. Here too, right?
Yes, yes, which I find fascinating. So one of the benefits of working in AIIB is having colleagues from all over the world. And I find that very interesting. I believe there are something like 40 different nationalities currently working. So at any time of the day, we can have very wide and interesting conversations about their experiences of how they came to the AIIB, what they want to accomplish, and we have very fruitful and diverse exchanges of ideas.
What were some of the exotic stories you heard about why they came to AIIB?
Some of the stories are they were curious to see China. So being based in Beijing, I believe it's the first non-Bretton Woods development institution. So they were interested in working out of Beijing. They wanted to see Beijing. So I have colleagues who have never even been to Asia prior to coming to AIIB.
I see.
And they wanted to explore for a couple of years, at the minimum, what the buzz in the East is all about.
What about for you? I mean, you were born in Korea, right?
Yes.
And now you come back to Northeast Asia.
Right. So it feels like homecoming. The first time I actually came to China was in year 2000 with a colleague of mine. And then I came almost once a year until I had an opportunity to live in Shanghai for 3 years. So for me, working in the AIIB brings together my international experience in a multi-development institution, but I get to enjoy my life in China as well as in Beijing.
You know, AIIB is 5 years old already.
Yes.
You know, as just someone who's been nurturing your team's babies over the years, what do you make of this 5 years for you personally even?
I am employee number 70.
Number 70.
Never
70. Okay.
So if you are double digits, you're considered, you're considered quite old, right? I mean, that's how young the institution is. If you have 3 digits, then there's a difference between 3 digits and 2 digits.
So you're the middle backbones in a way.
The middle, that's right, the middle backbone. I believe the president has no number actually.
Oh, okay.
But if you just look back in the 5 years, I think we've achieved a tremendous amount under great leadership in terms of projects that we have approved, in terms of the membership that has been increased from the original 56.
Right.
We're almost double our members. We have set up the proper governance. We have built a systematic kind of foundations of a bank. It's a tremendous amount of work of system building that we have done.
Right.
And I believe they are going to be a great foundation for us.
But you know, the next 5 years is not going to be easy. A lot of people are skeptical where our world is going. I mean, just to say the bigger picture, right?
Right. But I feel that the team that AIIB has brought together actually like working on challenges that are rewarding with great people that they like working with. So I think we do have the right people, and I think we can meet the challenges in the upcoming years.
It is a real professional I've been talking to. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tian Wei, welcome to the AIIB. So this is our boardroom. Yeah, of course.
Right? Every day for you, writing work. Bidding goodbye to Stephen, I also met a team of university students who told me they are working as volunteers for the AIIB's annual meeting. They told me they are excited about this young and inspiring multilateral lender. They're having a blast working on it with partners around the world.
Hi, my name is Liu Jiahe. It means Harmony Family in Chinese. I'm now a sophomore in Beijing Foreign Studies University. Now at AIIB, I'm working as a focal person to communicate with member countries to answer their questions, meet their requests, and help them to participate smoothly and successfully at the annual meeting.
Which countries are you dealing with?
I'm now dealing with 20 different countries.
Wow, that's a lot on your desk, I guess.
I'm working.
What about for you?
My name is Fan Hua from Peking University School of International Relations, and my work here is just as same as Jiahe. I work as a focal person to communicate with our member countries. I also deal with 20 countries such as Australia, Austria, and Belgium, Denmark, New Zealand, so on.
All right, both of you have a lot of work. And what about for you?
My name is Yao Guangchen. I go to Cornell University. I study management of hospitality. So what I do here, I mostly work with protocol section a lot. The nameplates that you will see are mostly done by me.
Okay, I see. What about for you?
My name is Yang Ziyin from Peking University. As a volunteer here, I work for updating data for registration lists.
So how is the registration going?
We now have over 60 member countries registered to our annual meeting, representing over 70 voting power. I hope there will be more countries to register to our annual meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I know more details since I'm in charge of managing and maintaining the team database.
I see.
I'm in charge of maintaining the info of those governors, alternative governors, and temporary alternate governors, and as well as the attendees and the issues of the members.
Got a lot of work there.
Yeah.
My name is Qiu Yuan, and you can call me Nicole. Now I am working with 2 foreign supervisors to calculate the annual meeting webinars attendees.
So tell me why you're here and what have you learned?
Okay, for me, I always love being challenged. I met several supervisors from foreign countries. I communicate with them. I experience intercultural communication. It really taught me a lot. It taught me how to bring my own culture to them and how to accept their cultures and cooperate with them. And also,
it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how many of your supervisors are there?
In our team, we have, I think, more than 20 supervisors.
Wow.
Some of them are from, like, UK, Italy, and yeah.
Is it fascinating to work with them?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I mean, I have foreign professors in my college, but we are like students and professors. But here, although they are my supervisors, I call them like sister, brother. It's more like colleagues. It's relaxed to work with them.
Multicultural environment, isn't it?
Yes, definitely for sure, and that's why I decided to come here. So originally I was studying in Cornell, and our original schedule for the semester was interrupted because of the pandemic. That's part of the reason why I came here for the volunteer program. As you know, that I major in hospitality is about the business of serving people, and originally we love to host parties and special events as a practice for my program. But this year, the annual meeting is done through Zoom and WebEx, which is a unique experience for me as well to host the event, to help to host the event.
This is also a challenge for our annual meeting because we moved it to from physical to the online also.
Besides, I get to know how the how the different government policy relating to those online tools such as Zoom. So they have different requirements, and sometimes maybe it can be annoying for us sometimes. But to solving these problems is our duty to help them to get over it and make the annual meeting run well.
And actually, the most important thing I learned here, I think, is the teamwork. In our team, people come from different countries and are ranging from different ages. But we work really like a team. We work together, and our only goal is to promote, to let this meeting conduct smoothly. Yeah. And we communicate like just we're equal, and maybe just a volunteer, but I just feel like I belong to here. It's really a fascinating experience to me.
Yeah. In retrospect, later, on the 5th anniversary of AIIB, you work for its annual meeting, and that is a special year against COVID-19. So I guess this is going to be some special memories for every one of us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you guys going to be full of energy to welcome that day, that special day?
Sure. Definitely. Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
AIIB's 5-year annual meeting is soon to be held. The organization is expecting a virtual session to connect shareholders and experts to discuss how to build a more inclusive and resilient tomorrow. We'll bring more information to you during the annual meeting, and that is all we have for today. If you'd like to see more, search World Insight and check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for watching, and bye for now.